One of the questions I have gotten so many times over even just the past couple of weeks is people asking, is there any hope for my marriage? Now, I will say they ask it in many different ways. They say, my spouse has gotten someone else pregnant. Is there hope? My wife has moved out and she won't come back. My kids are being affected by how much we're fighting. Is there hope? Whatever the situation might be, the bottom of it that everyone really wants to know is there actually hope for my marriage? Or is me standing and holding on just wasting time and wasting my own hope? Hey, my name is Kimberly Holmes. I'm the CEO of Marriage Helper, and I'm joined today by Dr. Joe Beam, the founder and chairman of Marriage Helper.
Well, titles don't mean much.
Of course they do. It's really just the one who does all the things and really brought the goodness of it into existence.
Well, thanks for the compliment. But when you think about this hope thing, Kimberly, you don't blame people for thinking there's no hope. Most of us make our judgments based on history. We've seen situations that looked hopeless and turned out to be hopeless. Or other people around us have seen situations that appear to be hopeless and turned out to be hopeless. And so based on all those experiences, they look at you or you look at yourself and go, there's no way for this to work. There is no hope. We have a different experience because of the fact that for 20-something years now, actually 26 years now, at the time of this recording, 26 years now, I've been working with marriages in trouble. And you've been working with them for quite a while yourself, even as young as you are. And we've seen the other side of that, where that situations that everybody gave up on and everybody said there is no possible way this can make it, did. And so when you look around, you're looking at experiences that you've seen or had and thinking that's it. Maybe you need to hear from some people like us, for example, who have a very different experience and saying, yeah, some marriages won't make it. We know that. Some situations are tougher than others. We know that. But we have seen, for lack of a better word, we have seen marriage miracles so many times, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to the extent where one time I made a list of 10 things, and the heading of it was how to know when to give up on your marriage. And I included things like if you have gotten your spouse, if you've gotten someone else pregnant, if you are pregnant with someone else's child, if you've been divorced for 10 years, if your spouse is struggling with an addiction, if you're struggling with an addiction, I mean, just a ton of things. And I said, every one of these situations we have seen saved. So we do believe that there's hope even in the craziest of circumstances because we've seen it, and not just once, but multiple times over for the craziest of situations.
Things that literally everybody said. There's no way on earth. I remember once an orthodontist I was seeing at the time, a good friend of mine, and he started telling me about this couple, and he actually used this phrase, everybody in this county. Now, this county has a lot of people in it. He said, everybody in this county knows there's no way that marriage can make it. So I challenged him. I said, well, why don't you, since you have influence with them, ask them to come over on our 3-day workshops? And he did, and they did. And then we did some follow-up work with that couple later. And not only did they salvage the marriage, each of them, by the way, was having an affair with somebody else. Each of them. Not only did they salvage the marriage, but they now actually work helping other couples. So it's like, well, everybody in the county knew it, but they were wrong.
Wrong. So it brings to mind that psychological principle, right, of self-fulfilling prophecy. If I believe there's no hope, I'm more likely to go down the road and take actions and behaviors that lead to there being no hope. Whereas if I believe there's hope, I'm going to think differently, act differently, do things differently based on the fact that there's hope.
And it's a very strong and powerful thing. Now, this analogy is going to sound ridiculous on the face of it, but just stay with me for a second. We know that when there's combat and some soldier is grievously wounded, that the medic working with that soldier will keep saying, stay with me, stay with me. What they mean is if this person gives up, they die. And if I can just keep you with me, if I can keep you thinking I can make it, focused, then the likelihood of their surviving increases dramatically. Now, the wound is the same either way. But some die because they give up. Some make it because of the fact that they refuse to die. Now, it does not mean that everybody who refused to die made it. Sometimes the wounds are so bad. And we're not saying that every marriage is always going to make it. I mean, because we'd be ridiculous to say something like that. But based on that principle that you just talked about, it's absolutely true. My mindset has a lot to do with it. Do I want to operate out of hopelessness or operate with hope? But Kimberly, when people do that, what are they really hoping for?
That's a great question. And without asking all of them right now, I would venture to say most of them are wanting hope for a better future. So ultimately, they want their marriage to come back together. But I think there's something deeper than that, where they want to know they're going to be okay. They're not going to feel the current pain they're in for the rest of their life, that something's going to happen, things will change, and they will feel peace, better, confident.
Excellent. And in that sense, there is 100% always hope. Because if you're hoping for your marriage to make it, we can help. I mean, we have seen things that, like, we don't want to become too redundant here, but things everybody else would give up on. We also know that over the 20-something years we've been doing our particular workshop for marriages in trouble, that 3 out of 4 of those couples actually make it, which is pretty remarkable, because probably 8 out of 10 that walk in the door, one of the spouses is saying, I'm done, I'm out, it's never going to happen. And when you have that many people walk in with the mindset that the marriage is not going to make it, and yet 3 out of 4 of them do, well, that's a lot of hope, but it's not a 100% guarantee. Right. So yes, there is hope, even in the worst of situations, that a marriage can be saved. But the ultimate hope is doing the things you need to do that would save the marriage if it's going to be saved. Doing those things gives you 100% hope of what you just talked about. Finding within yourself the peace, the fulfillment, that my life is not over, that I will have me the way I need me to be and have a future that's going to be good for me. Because the principles that we teach are good for saving marriages. As a matter of fact, they're extremely powerful for saving marriages, but ultimately powerful in changing you. And so, yeah, in that sense, there's 100% hope. And when people saying, is there any hope, they probably are thinking just about the marriage. But your message to them is, think beyond that.
It's deeper than that. It really is. And when you think about just all of the things that a person's feeling when their marriage is going through a crisis, there's societal pressure, there's this feeling inside of I've failed, there's the kids to think about if there's, so there's so much piling on that's really the bottom line of it is, have I failed? Am I worthy? Am I not good enough? That's the core of it. At the end of the day, we can't control, no one can control if their spouse comes back or not.
That's right. Each person makes his or her own decision.
They do. But like you just said, when you shift that focus and realize, when I do these things, when I follow this path, when I work on becoming the best I can be, do the right things to save my marriage, even if it doesn't work now, it will lead me to a better future, guaranteed.
Yeah, and it really is a guarantee if they do it.
If that's the thing. So we typically don't guarantee anything because, we can't guarantee your spouse is going to come back.
I can't do for you.
Right. But we also can't guarantee because we don't know how much you're actually going to live these things out, implement them in your daily life. It's one thing to listen to these videos. It's another thing to begin practicing the mindset shift, to begin actually working on yourself, to begin making sure that you take a breath and don't attack your spouse when they share something with you that's hard to hear. That's up to you. That's up to the individual to implement those things.
Talking to a counselor not long ago in marriage trouble, and when we talked about some things, he said, I know that. And finally I just said, I'm happy that you know that. Are you doing any of it?
Yeah.
And it shut him up. It was like,
when you say it that way.
Knowing is not enough. So here's the bottom line. There is hope. There's actually hope that you can save the marriage, even when everybody else thinks it's impossible. We could name situation after situation, give example after example of what we've seen, including hubby got the other woman pregnant, including my wife says she's never coming back. She hates me with all of her being, including everything you can imagine. And we offer a workshop that has had a great amount of success over decades of helping people do that. But 100% that if you actually practice the principles that you'll learn in that workshop, then you can find the peace and happiness within you. We don't try to prepare people for the next marriage. We do everything we can to help people salvage this marriage. But the principles that we teach, and we say this to a lot of people, the principles that we teach, if God forbid this one doesn't make it, you become such a better person that if you want another relationship in the future, like attracts like. Mm-hmm. You become a better person, stronger person, all those kinds of things, and that's the kind of person you'll attract. Whereas if you become a whiny, misery, pity party kind of person, mm-hmm. you're going to attract that kind of person or a predator. So 100% hope that you can become better if you implement these things and have a good future. But again, it's up to them. We can't guarantee that. It has to be guaranteed that if you do it, mm-hmm. you do that, then you can have a better future and a pretty good chance of saving the marriage. So if people want to know more about what we do, how do they find out?
So there's 2 key programs that we have for a person who is wanting to save their marriage, but even more than that, become the best they can be, get to that place of confidence and of peace. And that first one is our Save My Marriage course, which is a course that we have had and we have continued to improve for the past 5 or 6 years now, that teaches the spouse who wants to save the marriage the best things that they can do, the things they need to stop doing, and how they can change their behaviors in order to have the best possibility of saving their marriage. But even in that, we teach exactly how you can become the best that you can be. But the other thing that we have that is even more in depth than that is our new solo spouse workshop. So up until this year, there has not been the ability for someone who wants to go through our 3-day workshop to do so without their spouse, even if they can't get their spouse to go. But as of this year, we have been doing that solo spouse workshop, and it has had really tremendous results. I mean, people go through it and say they understand even more about themselves, about what's happened to their situation and in their marriage, and how they can apply things even better moving forward. So we have both of those things, and you can find out more about them on marriagehelper.com. Be sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and let us know, what about hope for you? What was your feeling about hope for your situation before you watched this video? And after you've watched it, how do you feel now? Be sure to comment below and let us know. We love reading your comments.
I can only say I wish I had discovered this months earlier, because in it I realized how many mistakes I was making in trying to win back my wife and my children.
I learned so much about myself and about my marriage. I wish that I would have discovered it earlier.
Learning that you cannot control anything. You can only change yourself. You can only control yourself. So if you change yourself, you can influence others.
You learned a lot about yourself, you learned patience, and you learned how to communicate your feelings.
My favorite part of the course was the peace and hope that came as I went through it. Something that I didn't even get while I was going through therapy.
I feel like it has truly changed me as a person, a spouse, a mother.
Really taught me a lot about myself.
Marriage Helper has saved me from a lot of anxiety, from a lot of impatient behavior.
Really made you dig within inside yourself and think about all the things that you do that you're not thinking about.
I thought I had all the answers to my marriage and why it's not been working.
The less you push, the more the other person has to pull.
It does help with communication skills, not only with my spouse, but also through my career and my children.
I really enjoyed the 10-week course. I liked that everything was broken down into so many steps, and that the workbook helped keep you on track. I learned so much.
It wasn't about playing games. All the other resources sort of wanted you to play hard to get or go out and find other people to make your partner jealous.
My favorite parts are the videos with the information. That is golden. It has helped me to become a better person and with the hope of getting back together.
The course itself, again, is based on statistics, knowledge, tried and true methods. They don't lie to you. They are sincere and care about the marriage, your marriage.
I really like that I have the support on here, as well as the private Facebook group.
The Facebook group is fantastic. It is a blessing.
I
enjoy the weekly encounters with the marriage helper and all the tips that come offline and on the virtual trainings.
The Marriage Helper course has been phenomenal. And I have to tell you that it has helped me both personally as well as in my marriage.
At the end of the day, he chose not to even show me the divorce papers. He took them with him and he chose to continue talking. So for the first time in a long time, I face the future of our marriage with hope.
I'm hoping for a reconciliation and praying for reconciliation. However, if for some reason, if it doesn't work out by the grace of God, at least I've bettered myself.
If anything works, this will.